Right now, thousands of people are outside of Madison Square Garden getting ready for a massive Trump rally in New York City, with many saying Trump's going to win New York State. He's going to win New Jersey. And I'm like, hold your horses. I don't know about all that. It is looking very good for Donald Trump in the popular vote. That's crazy, right? And the Electoral College. But I don't know if I'd go so far to say there's going to be a landslide. It's looking like with right now, Donald Trump at 0.2% nationally, beating Harris by Nate Silver's own forecast model. That should put Donald Trump at a 98% chance to win. But of course, Nate Silver has in his forecast model, polls don't matter. All that matters is the actual popular vote. And if the popular vote is between 0 and 1 leaning Democrat, Trump still has like an 80-something% chance to win. And if it's between 1 and 2 Democrat, Trump still has like a 2-to-1 chance to win. Well, as of right now, it is between 0 and 1 leaning Republican. If that holds true till Election Day, Trump wins. Now, I got to tell you, my friends, the Democratic campaign, they're freaking out. They're freaking out. We got this from the Daily Mail. Inside the Democrat implosion, as Kamala's team is gripped by fear. Nobody should be even slightly optimistic right now. Democratic doom. That's what they call it over at the Daily Mail. Apparently, Kamala Harris is running scared from Joe Biden. Biden is heading to PA against the wishes of the Harris campaign to solo campaign. Y'all, this is the funniest thing. So Biden's team is pissed. There's rumors going around that they're calling the Democrats suckers and losers. Haha, right? I'm paraphrasing, by the way, but something like that. And Kamala's team is like, we're not going to do any campaign events with Joe Biden. People do not like Joe Biden. We're going to blame him for all the problems. And then Joe goes, hey there, kid, I'm going to go campaign for you in Pennsylvania. And, a lot of people are saying that Joe Biden is intentionally sabotaging Kamala Harris. This is absolutely wild. And we have the story for you. We'll line it all up. Harris stiff arms Biden in final stretch. But Biden says, you know what? Don't worry, kid. I got your back. Now, the argument is not that he's trying to sabotage the Democrats, but that many staffers who work for Kamala Harris, who did work for Joe Biden, believe Biden actually is still good with working class whites in Pennsylvania. And they're hoping he can muster up some support. But I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. Now, I will say before we get into all the news, you must go vote. You must go vote. Early voting in most places open now. You need to get your vote. I'll tell you why. I don't care if you live in California. I don't care if you live in West Virginia. Donald Trump has to win the Electoral College and the popular vote. Victory here is not just taking a seat of power. If Donald Trump wins the Electoral College and loses the popular vote, Democrats will insist that they have popular mandate. They will then obstruct and lose their minds. And it's going to be, well, it'll be tumultuous, is the easy way to put it. Now, Trump winning the Electoral College is still great. Let's go for the battleground states. But if Trump wins the national popular vote, they have no popular mandate. We then rebuke all of the absurdities of their crackpot ideologies. We tell them you're on the wrong side of history. The American people oppose your crackpot ideology. Get your garbage out of our movies. Get it out of our TV shows and our music. Get it out of our beer. Think about it. Every major corporate exec being like, can you see this? Trump won the popular vote. People do not like this far left garbage. And that's what we need. It's not just about saying we want Donald Trump in the White House. It's about saying all of your ideas are a weak crackpot position that does not represent the American people. But let's read about the doom that is the Democratic implosion. Daily Mail says inside the Democrat implosion is Kamala's team is gripped by fear and the vibes drain away. Nobody should be even slightly optimistic right now. Democrats are spending another week wondering if Kamala Harris has let her momentum in the 2024 race slip away. A murderer's row of bad PR for the Harris campaign this week featured continued tanking in the polls. A widely panned CNN town hall, Donald Trump beating her to the Joe Rogan bump, and even fellow Democrats slamming her rhetoric. Well, come on. There was no way Kamala was ever actually going to go on the Joe Rogan podcast. There was, I think Andrew Yang was like, Kamala really needs to go on Joe Rogan. And I was like, I agree, Andrew. Trump needs all the support he can get. Could you imagine Kamala Harris sitting down for 3 hours? Trump would be like, Rogan would be like, why are you calling Trump Hitler? And she'll be like, have you heard what he said? He'll be like, Jamie, pull up what he said. Yeah, he didn't say that. It's 2 seconds. And then Kamala implodes live on stage for the biggest podcast. She's helpless. She is cooked. Now, I don't know who actually wins, though. And I would hate to assert Trump has already won when we don't know, my friends. We don't know. Shadow campaigns. This one's going to be wild. Here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that when Election Day comes around, right now, the data that we have suggests Republicans are winning the early vote. Seriously. And that's crazy. That means all predictions are going to be right now that Republicans are going to win. I hope that come Election Day, the Republican push is so pronounced. The results come in and they say Trump is up by 7 points. It would be impossible for Kamala to close the gap with mail-in voting. So what we saw with Joe Biden is that Trump was winning on Election Day, and then they said, nah, but mail-in votes are going to come in, and then Biden's going to win because the margins were close. I hope that come November 5th, the margins are so far apart, they say, even if Kamala Harris secures all of the mail-in votes, she can't win. It's over. Trump comes out and goes, thank you. I will be a good president, a great president, and I will be your president. And that's it. Trump is far from perfect. And we see often with these Democrats and leftists, I love this. There's a meme where it's like a magazine cover and it's a bunch of zombies with MAGA hats on. And it's like entranced or something. And I'm like, the fascinating thing to me is that most people, be it Democrat or Republican, ain't going to be able to give you a good answer on politics. That's just reality. That viral video I mentioned before, Don Lemon asks a guy and he's like, I watch Rogan, Tim Pool, and Steve Crowder. And he can't really articulate his thoughts on the matter. Now, no beef. Thanks for watching the show. Although he does accuse me of clickbait, which, I just want to say this. Okay, everybody. You know what clickbait is? Okay, you know what clickbait is. Clickbait is when you leave the subject out of a headline. Okay, so clickbait would be saying something like, Tim Pool announces who he will be voting for. Like, it's technically letting you know what the article's about, where headlines are supposed to give you the gist of the story, saying Tim Pool announces Trump endorsement or something like that. Clickbait is when you omit information. Okay, I don't do that. I don't do that. And to be fair, I don't know where my headlines are in any way misleading. I think they're opinion headlines of mine. And I'm looking at one right now, and it's like Trump takes national lead over Kamala. That's a fact. That literally happened. I have the polls right here. So you tell me it's clickbait. Anyway, here's Trump National. Take a look at this. He's up 0.2. That is indicative of a victory in the national popular vote. But let's take a look at some of the facts and data that we've got here. Jack Posobiec with the spicy meme tweet. And this is more drama. I can't really confirm it. But Jack does have sources in the White House. He does have sources who work in the federal government. He says, breaking. Biden is telling advisors the election is dead and buried and called Kamala an innate sucker, per a White House official. Here's a text. This morning, B conveyed to multiple advisors that the election was dead and buried and called Kamala an innate sucker and too credulous from the starting line. Absolutely slammed her schedule versus 45s, said the race has been a classic hare and tortoise, but the hare is also stupid, not just lazy. Wow. His coherency when asked about her is second to no other subject. There's a special button in that head of his for her, and it's a moment to behold. Been referring to Obama and virtually everyone who forced him out as suckers and jackasses. Well, I'd like to believe it's true. We know that Jack has these sources, but I will preface this with a single anonymous source does not move the needle for me. So I'll let you know that Jack posted it because he's getting mad traction. And Jack's sources do tend to be good, but take it all with a grain of salt. No disrespect to Jack. Here we go, baby. From the Virginia Project. Look at this. Virginia Project updates confirms what I suspected. Virginia GOP is winning the early in-person vote outright, which, as you can see, is unprecedented. There's an 18% shift year over year and 31% shift in 2 years. Yo, this is bonkers. Okay, everybody said Virginia is going Democrat, but right now, early in-person voting is leaning Republican. Now, I don't have the data on mail-in voting, but this is massively bad. So John Salter says, wait, aren't we down like 12 or something? Indeed. Virginia Project says this is in-person only and doesn't include mail, which is still almost the exact same ratio it always was with 2 Democrats to 1 Republican. But here's the point. With the winning of in-person early voting, Early voting usually favors Democrats. This is a strike against them. If on election day, Republicans turn out in traditional classic numbers, it could be indicative of Virginia flipping red. It's kind of wild to see Virginia being blue, but, it's got the D.C. suburbs and it's got a bunch of really awful places. And I feel bad for those who live in Virginia because you're almost based. Just almost. We then have this from Interactive Polls. New 538 forecast. Trump's chance of winning is 54% with 277 electoral votes. Take a look at this. Swing states win probability. Arizona, 66% for Trump. Georgia, 63. North Carolina, 62. PA is 53. Nevada is 53. Wisconsin and Michigan are leaning Harris. Polymarket U.S. House odds have a Republican victory at 52%. And currently for the presidency, we've got 65% for Donald Trump. Now still, popular vote winner is 59% for Kamala Harris. And I don't think that's wrong. That's why I'm saying go and vote. Get everyone you know. Call them all up and say, are you voting? Because, look, if you're in California, we got 10 million Republicans in California or more, and only like 6 actually vote. Where are the rest of those 4 million? Y'all need to go vote because we need the popular vote victory to shut down. This is not about just winning the seat of power. Okay, I'll say it again. This election is not just we want Trump in the White House. This election is we want to win the culture war. We want to say to all of these insane woke psychopaths, we reject your insane ideology. That being said, I don't know that we do win the culture war this time. Even if Trump wins the popular vote, I don't know that it means the culture war is over, but it is a massive PR victory. I'm thinking the strong possibility is Trump electoral college victory with a Kamala popular vote victory, but we really don't know. Look at this. Electoral college margin of victory, GOP by 215, less than 1%. Yeah, that ain't happening. But where's the balance of power? Republican sweep is currently at 48%. Huge. Big. It doesn't guarantee anything, however. We'd like to see it, but I think there's a possibility the Democrats could take the House. You saw the forecasts. Now, I would like to add, too, forecasts are completely meaningless, and I care not for them. Let me show you. So this is the latest update from Nate Silver. He's the guy who gives us a forecast, and I'm going to say it again. Forecasts mean nothing. Forecasts are the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and I have no idea why anybody pays for this. I pay for it because I'm a Politico who's reporting on the news to you. So fair point, Nate. Okay, I pay for your service so we can understand your predictions. Granted, if you want to read the full breakdowns, you're going to have to go to Nate Silver's website and pay for it yourself. But let me read this from you. Last update from Saturday. Awfully light polling volume for the penultimate Saturday before the election. National polls continue to show a tighter race than they did a few weeks ago, with Harris now leading Trump by only 1.2 points. But without any interesting state data to work with, our forecast remains essentially unchanged. We've also made a very subtle tweak to how the model calculates forecast error that slightly increases the chance of an electoral college popular vote split in either direction. More about that in the next model talk. Okay, so Nate Silver's got the prediction, which is currently we've got Arizona victory. Trump is look at this. Wow. So let's scroll down here and take a look at the odds he gives, which is did I just pass it? He's got too much data. Well, here, this is important too. Right now, his model, based on the aggregate polling of Real Clear Politics, suggests a 94.5% chance of Trump winning because of the popular vote. But we don't know for sure. We'll have to wait and see. But I must have scrolled past his. There it is. Sorry. Currently, the win probability for Donald Trump is 53.3 to Harris's 46.4. I ask you this. What does it all mean? Why would anyone care about a forecast model? If Donald Trump wins, he goes, see, I said he had the edge. If he loses, well, Harris had 46%. It's meaningless. There's nothing you can glean from this. You can go back to the Harris-Trump debate, and Trump was at 64% to win before it. And we're like, wow, Trump's going to win. And then Harris is going to win. And now Trump's going to win. At any point, if you tracked this forecast model, it did nothing for you. So, my friends, the only thing that really matters is, to be honest, well, I think the betting odds matter. It shows public sentiment based on the information available. And why that matters is it's direct polling. So let's take a look at the national popular vote right now, or I should say the national polling average. Donald Trump is at 0.2 to win nationally. Now, to be fair, he has Trump has big polls going back to early and mid-October. But as of now, they're mostly ties. Rasmussen actually has Harris up 1. That's kind of wild considering Rasmussen is typically Trump leaning. So we don't know what any of this stuff means, and the swings are wild. If we go to the battleground states, we can see that Donald Trump is still leading in aggregate for each state at 0.9. Now, the polls matter, but who's been polled and when do you get polled? I don't even know, right? So let's look at Polymarket. If we go to Polymarket and take a look at the election winner, what do we see? People are betting that Donald Trump wins. Now, what does this mean? The people who watch the news, and many of them laymen, believe based on what they see, Trump is going to win. Why would they believe that? This means that all of these people who are betting, the way they feel inside, either think one of two things. Trump is the better candidate and he's proven himself, or, man, Kamala really bombed this one and she can't win, but she's better. It's just too bad. It seems like what you're seeing is people in general, wisdom of the crowd, saying, based on what we have seen, Trump is better. Trump is going to win. And there's probably a lot of people who are like, don't know, don't care, but dang, Kamala, she flopped. And so, my friends, once again, we'll have to wait and see. We don't know what any of this really does mean. Intelligence just says Republicans say they are winning the early vote, and they are. Should Democrats panic yet? They should. Oh, God, no. Why are you calling me about this? As John Anzalone, a pollster for Kamala Harris and other Democratic candidates. Are you trying to upset me? Anzalone had just gotten off the phone with one of his clients, a member of Congress running for re-election, who was asking the same thing I was. What is going on with early vote numbers? And are they as dire for Democrats as some anxious partisans are claiming? His answer, stop, just stop. Do not go down the rabbit hole. It means nothing. Don't ever look at it. Every email that comes in with updated numbers, I delete before even opening. That sounds like panic to me. This question, what the early vote numbers tell us, if anything, has consumed endless hours of cable news, blah, blah, blah. Most smart political analysts agree with Anzalone. The early vote numbers tell you next to nothing about who's going to win. Okay, sure, fine, whatever. I can tell you that typically early vote numbers favor Democrats, and everyone goes, yeah, well, whatever. Republicans are going to vote on election day, and then we'll see if they muster up the support. However, if Republicans are making tremendous gains in early voting or winning early voting, like we're seeing in some instances, that means that on election day, Democrats will not be able to maintain an advantage. That means the prediction, the forecast will be a Republican victory. So you can't just come out now and say, none of it means anything. None of it matters. Take a look at this. From Fox News, Dems need to ramp up early voting efforts to match GOP momentum in North Carolina, says analyst. Thomas Mills said Republican voters are turning out at levels much higher than they have in the past. I think I got this crazy tweet. Let me see. Oh, so actually, here's Madison Square Garden. I thought I had this crazy tweet talking about, do I not have that? There was a tweet that I saw where it was like I thought I had that story pulled up. Is it this one? New York City voters set new record for first day early voting turnout. And if early voting nationally is favoring Republicans, that's interesting, especially with the Madison Garden turnout. But that's not what I was looking for. Here we go. We got it right here. Early voting in battleground Georgia brings in over half of 2020 total turnout. Early voting right now in Georgia is more than half of the entire voting in 2020. This is going to be crazy. I don't know what this means, but I got a question for you. Do you think this means that Democrats are coming out en masse and supporting Kamala Harris? That they're turning out in numbers not yet seen before? Yeah, probably not. They're likely Republicans. Now, here's the pitfall. Many are wondering if this is a surge or cannibalization. Cannibalism? Cannibalizing? Whatever. If Republicans who normally vote on election day just decided to go vote early or by mail, it will not change the total amount of votes. It just means Trump said, vote early, vote often. And then people said, okay. So if you get 1 million votes from Republicans on election day, but then with early voting, you just have 500,000 to 500,000, the number's going to be the same. But I tell you this, my friends, the reason why it matters. Maricopa County, Arizona. Last in Kerry Lake's election, all these election machines, these voting machines break. So on election day, people are getting turned away. The media then says, no, everybody who wanted to vote got to vote. Yes. And then people who decided they didn't want to vote anymore left. You're not going to tell me that 200 plus machines had the wrong paper size, the printing size, could not be processed, and everyone just stayed. But if you vote early, it makes it harder for shenanigans to occur, which means if on election day, the water main broke and we got to shut down the count, Anything like that happens won't matter because you already got your votes in. Now, Bad Hombre's got the tweet. It's happening now. Thousands of supporters are wrapping around the entire city blocks in downtown Manhattan for President Trump's historic Madison Square Garden rally. He speaks at 5 p.m. This is wild. People are saying they showed up at midnight because they wanted to be in the front of the line. Man, I wish I could be there. I really do. There ain't no way I can make it to New York and back after a rally in time for any of the shows that I got to do. Take a look at this. The line to see Trump at Madison Square Garden is already blocks long. These are people that have been waiting since last night. New York City is ready for change from liberal rule that destroyed it. This is crazy. And look at the sea of red hats in New York City. My friends, it would be amazing to see New York saved. I lived in New York for, like 5 years. It's a fun city. Man, I remember the first time I went to New York. I'm from Chicago, so I know big cities, right? When I was a kid and we drive downtown, going down I-55, you're starting to see the city skyline in Chicago, and you're like, wow, man, here we are downtown. Look at all the buildings. That's crazy. Take the train, take the Orange Line up to State and Lake or whatever. I think the Orange Line, it was the loop. And it was a big city. It's a big city. And then I went to Los Angeles, and I was like, this is a big city. L.A. is barely any skyscrapers at all. I mean, there's a city skyline in downtown L.A., but nobody really hangs out there. It's always on the beach, Santa Monica or Hollywood or something. It's a big urban sprawl. And then I went to New York. And as I was driving up, I was like, where's the city? No, I mean, like when I'm in Chicago, there's little houses everywhere in the city. And then once you get down, no, New York is just downtown. I guess technically in Queens, you got houses all over. But driving into New York, I was like, holy crap. And New York has become a cesspit. It's become sad. But to see these patriots lining up, I don't think Trump wins New York. I wish he would. Eric Adams came out and actually gave a passive defense of Trump, saying, chill on the rhetoric. I wish New York could be saved and become beautiful and clean and respectful. And the drugs and the gangs and the violence of Chicago and LA and New York got cleaned up. Because it was a great place. And I love the city. Okay, but we're out here in the middle of nowhere now, sort of. We're in, it's funny because the suburbs outside of Chicago, you could drive an hour. You're in Chicago, you're on 290, you go west for an hour, and you're in the suburbs where a lot of people live. And we're an hour outside of D.C., but we're in West Virginia because, you can be. Better laws. And I'm just thinking, I wish I didn't have to leave these places. I wish they were run properly, but they're not. They are run miserably. But maybe people are standing up, waking up, and they're going to make that change. Well, my friends, I certainly hope so. I'm going to leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 on this channel, so smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, give us a good review. Just type in, man, this is the best show. It's the greatest show. Everyone agrees. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next segment.